For topic 5 public finance, I will be presenting about the first subtopic, concepts of public finance. First, let's look at the definition of public finance. Public finance is the branch of economics that studies the government activities and the alternative means of financing government expenditures. We will study the government finances and how the government increases its resources to counter the increasing expenditure. So what's the government of China? China, or formerly known as People's Republic of China, is founded by Communist Party of China in 1921, and this party is still governing China to this very day as a sole governing party. Okay, next we look at the major functions of public finance. We have three of them. The first one is allocation function, the next one is distribution function, and the last one is stabilization function. Allocation function refers to the responsibility of the government to provide for public goods such as national defense, government administration, judiciary law enforcement, public healthcare, and public infrastructure. Example of public infrastructure. Driven by the increase in cars, there's a huge amount of road upgrading and new highway construction. China is also in the process of spending $200 billion on railways by the end of 2011, including high-speed intercity links that will halve traveling time for those who can spend the extra money. Next example is the healthcare in China. The national healthcare has covered impressively 90% of its population, although private medical institutions are also available. Next, we look at the distribution function. The distribution function of public finance deals with the adjustment of the distribution of wealth and income to ensure fair or just state of distribution. President Xi Jinping has successfully performed the largest poverty alleviation campaign in history, as it has lifted more than 68 million people out of poverty through the development of local industries, education, healthcare, and combating corruption. To combat economic fluctuations, we can apply fiscal policy. The first one is contractional fiscal policy. This policy is implemented by the government when there is an inflationary gap to slow down the economy, and the second one is expansionary fiscal policy. It is implemented when there is a deflationary gap to stimulate economic activities.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Yus Iqmal Bin Yusri, and I want to explain about the subtopic conventional government revenues. There are three types of revenue sources that received by conventional government. There is tax revenue, non-tax revenue, and non-revenue receipts. Okay, now I will explain in more detail about the three types of revenue sources. First, we go to tax revenue. Tax revenue is a compulsory contribution that is imposed by the government on private individuals and organizations. It is most important source of government revenues. It is divided into two types of tax, which is direct tax. Direct tax is the tax where the taxpayer cannot shift their responsibility to another person or parties to pay the tax. For indirect tax is vice versa to the direct tax. For example, export duties, import duties, and service tax. In China, tax revenue greatly affects China's economic and social development. China used socialist tax system after changes made since the 1994 tax reform. Tax revenue in China came 11.05 trillion yuan in 2013, that up 9.8% over 2012. 2017 World Bank estimate that China's total tax rate for corporation was 68% as a percentage of profits through direct and indirect tax. According to the State Administration of Taxation, overall tax revenues were 30% in China. Okay, next we move to non-tax revenue. Non-tax revenue is a revenue that arises from other sources besides tax. For example, receipt from license, regulation fees and permit, and services fees. And lastly, non-revenue receipt. For example, example, refunds of expenditure, interdepartmental credit, and refunds of our payment.
Okay, my name is Luqman and I will explain about government expenditure. Government expenditure has two types. First is operating expenditure. The definition is expenses of operating and administering a government department. The example is emolument, service charge, debt, and asset acquisition. At China, the data was reported on interest payment for debt at 833,800 billion in December 2019. This record is an increase from previous data. The data is updated yearly, averaging 354,859 billion from December 2009 and 2019. Next, the development expenditure. The definition is expenditure for investment purpose to improve facility in the basic physical infrastructure. The example is economic service, social service, defense and security. China, the data was reported in social service on education is 3,222,200 billion in December 2018. This record is increased from the previous data. The data is updated yearly, averaging 1,043,254 billion from December 2000 to 2018.
I will explain about government budget. Government budget divided by three, which is balanced budget, surplus budget, and deficit budget. First, balanced budget G equal to T. It is occur when the government's total expenditure is equal to its total revenue. It is also occur when the economy has reached full employment. For example, the government's expenditure such as education, defense, and transfer payment are equal to the government's revenue, which is tax. Next, surplus budget G less than T. It is occur when the government's total expenditure is less than its total revenue. It is also adopted by government to overcome inflation by raising the tax and reducing the government expenditure. Last but not least, deficit budget G more than T. It is occur when the government total expenditure is more than total revenue. Government will use this budget when the economy is in recession by raising government expenditure or reducing tax. We can take China country for example. This country has a deficit type of government budget in 2017 as the expenditure of the government at the value of 3 trillion is more than the revenue at the value of 2 trillion.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Nazmi bin Akhyar and I will explain about fiscal policy. Alright, fiscal policy is a microeconomic instrument used by the federal government either to slow down the economy or to stimulate economic activity. There are two types of fiscal policy, which are contractionary and expansionary fiscal policy. For contractionary fiscal policy, it is implemented when there is an inflationary gap. So the government will decrease their total expenditure and increase the government's total revenue to reduce the aggregate demand. However, expansionary fiscal policy is a deflationary gap that happen for some country. So their government will increase their total expenditure and decrease their total revenue to increase their aggregate demand. For example, when coronavirus hit China, they are in a deflation crisis. So China need to increase their aggregate demand, which will increase their production and expand their economic growth. That's all from me. Thank you.